Hi. Out for a quick hike at a nature conservancy near my place. And I wanted to share a couple of facts about gaits and track patterns and make a couple suggestions about learning them. The first fact that will help you in learning track patterns and gaits is to recognize that track patterns and gaits are two different things. A track pattern refers to the visual impression left on the ground or snow when an animal passes. A gait is how the animal was moving when it made those impressions. What feet were off the ground at the same time? What was the order of footfall? What was the shoulder orientation? And things like that. The reason I want to point that out is that when you look at a reference book, you'll see a little zigzag pattern and it'll be labeled something like diagonal walk. But recognize a zigzag pattern can be made by a variety of walks and a stalk and a trot and even a transverse gallop. So when you see a track pattern labeled, file it away that it could be that, and there are probably other gaits that could produce that, besides a walk, for example. So that's why when I refer to impressions I see in the snow, I'll say things like a zigzag pattern, direct register trot. Zigzag pattern is the track pattern. Direct register trot is the gait. When I first started studying tracks, I used to get confused because I thought, well, a walk always produces this and a gallop always produces that. So get used to associating track patterns with multiple kinds of gaits. Similarly, a single gait, like a gallop for example, can produce a zigzag pattern or a reverse parenthesis or a parenthesis or a 7 or a backward 7 pattern. So recognize the two are distinct and learn to make the distinction when you're looking at references. The second fact about track patterns and gaits is that in the reference books, terminology is not uniform. So what one tracker calls a pace step, another one will call an overstep walk. Some consider a pace only to be if it's as fast as a jog, others don't care. Some people measure stride as, for example, the distance between the toe of the right hind and the toe of the left hind print. Others measure it as the toe of the right hind foot to the very next impression of that right hind foot. So make sure you know what your reference is referring to when they talk about things like stride, straddle, trail width, and so on. And once you know what they're referring to, the terminology won't confuse you. But as a beginner, I was often confused because I would check references and it would give one stride measurement, which was quite a bit different than the stride measurement in another reference. So the second recommendation is make sure you pay attention to exactly how your reference is defining whatever the term is that they're using. Here's a piece of scat I found in the trail. It could be fox. It's got that folded over look of weasel. If you know what it is, let me know. The third fact I want to alert you to is that when it comes to gaits, every animal has a common or normal gait. It's the gait they use in just daily taking care of business. Like you would use walking around a store or going from your office to your car or walking around the house. Depending on the animal's survival and hunting strategy, that gait will differ. So a common gait for a coyote is a trot, as it is for a fox. The normal gait for a weasel family member is either a bound or a lope. Squirrels and rabbits, they gallop as their normal gait. The importance of this is knowing when you're looking at a set of tracks whether this is an animal going about its daily business on its way somewhere, or whether something special is happening. It's stalking, or it's sneaking away, or it's escaping. So what I do is make a note in my field reference manual on what the normal gait is, because that'll be 75 or 80% of the tracks you find, and then going up from there for faster, going down for slower. So in this one, which is a coyote, a direct register trot's probably the most normal gait. Faster than that will be a canid trot, faster than that a lope, faster than that a gallop. Or if he's slowing down from a normal gait, an overstep walk to an understep walk. And things like a straddle trot and a bound, those are usually transitional gaits. So if you add that little bit of information to your field reference manual, you'll have the ability to make sense of the trail you're seeing a lot more quickly than if you were not aware of that. The fourth fact about track patterns and gaits that I wanted to share is that when you see a track pattern produced by some gait, there's only one way the animal moved and could have moved in order to produce that. So the best way I can think of for you to really get an understanding of gaits and the tracks they leave is to reproduce them yourself. For example, put some post-it notes on the floor of your living room in a pattern that you see in one of the reference books or you saw in the field, and get on your hands and knees, or if it's easier, on your hands and feet, and reproduce those movements by putting your front and hind, left and right, exactly where the post-it notes are. I'll try to find and reference a video I saw of somebody doing that, but he was doing it outside. He's also very athletic, so I thought it'd be better to show you his video than me crawling around on the floor. I'm not exactly poetry in motion, but I really recommend going to the effort of reproducing them. Learn to crawl in a diagonal, in a direct register, a pace walk. Do all of those things, because that will really help you understand what gait the animal was using, how it moved in order to produce a set of prints. This is the last video I'm making in the playlist called Tracking, because I want to move on to a new series on trailing the animal. You've already done field work finding multiple signs, multiple species, multiple signs for the same species, and track interpretation, species identification, and so on. So if you've been reading your reference works and doing your field work, you ought to be able by now to interpret a set of tracks, identify the species, and fill in the what, who, where, how, when, why conclusions for what was really going on here. When we move on to trailing, we'll be talking about following a single species, single animal. And that's a whole different topic, so I'll do a whole different playlist for it. The one tracking topic I haven't covered has to do with pressure releases You can hear the sound of me walking on the snow, maybe. That sound you hear is the movement of the snow in response to the pressure of my weight and the movement of my feet. So that's the sound of pressure releases being made. They're an important part of tracking. I probably would rather do those in the summer than in the winter, though. Thanks for coming with me. Please keep your field work going, and I'll see you on down the trail.